Alright, in this lesson we're going to talk about composition of functions. In composition of functions you may have heard FOG before, or GOF. Okay, FOG or GOF. And what that means is we're going to take we're given something like this. It's written as FOG, the second one's written as GOF. Okay, and what we're doing is we still have two equations. We have an f of x and we have a g of x. And what we're doing is we're going to be plugging a number into one of the equations and then finding an answer. And once we get that answer, we take and plug it into the other equation. Notice the way that I circled this FOG is that we start wherever the number is closest to a letter. So notice the 4 is closest to the g. That's where you start. You take the 4 and you plug it into the g function first. So I take 4 and write it over here and plug it in for x in the g function. So it's just 4 plus 3. That's where I start. And then I find my answer is 7. So what that means is that when I plug the 4 into the g equation, I got 7. Okay? So now what happens is I'm done with that part. The g of 4 is done. That's 7. So what that means is now I take that and plug it into the f equation. So the f just comes down, and I take 7 and plug it in to the f equation now. So whatever solution you got the first time, you take and plug it in over here into the other equation, the f equation. So all I get here is just going to be 7 squared, because it's just x squared. So 7 squared is 49. So that means that whole answer for f of g of 4 is 49. So this is my f of g of 4. Okay, and by the way, that's actually how you read that. It's FOG of 4, but it's actually, the little O's are kind of. So f of g of 4. So notice I'm saying of twice. But anyway, the answer is 49. Okay, so let's erase and try the second one. Same thing happens, but this time I take 2 and I'm plugging into the f function first. So I take the 2, put it into f. So right here I put in a 2. 2 squared is just 4. So the answer for that part is 4. Okay? So that means I take my g, bring it down, and I'm really just needing to find g of 4, and that will give me my final answer. So I take 4, plug it in here for x, and now it's just 4 plus 3. The answer is 7. So my total overall answer is 7 for f of g of 2. Okay? So that's composition of functions with a number. It's not too complicated with a number, as long as you remember to plug the number into the closest letter function first, and then take your answer and plug it into the other one. But now we're going to get a little bit more complicated and do it with a variable instead of a number. So I do the same process though. So what it's asking me to do is take x and plug it into the g function. Well, if you look over here, I've already got an x in the g function, so I don't have to do anything. My answer is x plus 3. What that means is you're supposed to take x plus 3 as your answer and plug it into the f equation wherever you see your variable. Well, there's a variable right here in x squared, so what that means is you take x plus 3 and replace it where the x was. So what that means is, because there was an x squared, you need to rewrite it to be x plus 3 squared. And then simplify if possible. And it is possible to simplify here to get our x plus 3 squared. We actually haven't worked through FOIL and stuff like that yet, so we're going to do that in a later lesson, but I'll go ahead and write it out. I don't think you'll have any homework problems where you actually have to FOIL, but it's possible. X plus 3, it means you write it twice, x plus 3. And if you've seen FOIL before, first, outer, inner, last. And so our firsts are to multiply the x times the x. That's what first means, first, x times x, which is x squared. Then you do outers. Again, I don't think you have to worry about this because I don't believe you have any FOIL problems, but I'm working at it anyway. Plus 3x. And then we have inners. So the inners are the inmost ones, 3 times the x, which is another 3x. And then finally we have our lasts, which is the 3 times the 3, which is plus 9. And then you would just simplify that to be x squared plus 6x plus 9. Now again, The part that I really need you to be concerned with is this x plus 3 squared. Can you figure out how I got there? And again, where that came from was I plugged x into the g equation. That answer was x plus 3, so I take that whole answer and put it in for x, which gives me the x plus 3 squared. Okay, and that's as far as I really need you to go, but I just wanted to work that out to show you the FOIL, just in case. You're going to see more problems like the second one because you won't actually have the FOIL. This one has g of f of z, which means that I'm supposed to take z and plug it into the f function. So I take z, put it over here where there's an x. Well, x squared replaces with z squared, and so my answer for that one is z squared. So I take that solution and I plug it into the g function. So wherever there's an x in the g function, I replace it with a z squared. So it's just z squared plus 3. That means my answer is z squared plus 3. There's no simplifying I can do after that. So sorry if I confused you with the FOIL process, but you're not going to have that type of simplifying. So I have z squared plus 3 here. That's as far as I need to go with this function. So all it is, again, just like we did with the numbers, is you take your variable, plug it into whichever letter is closest, and then whatever that answer was, this z squared, you plug it into the other, wherever there's a variable in the second one. So there was an x there, I replaced it with my z squared.